After further review, this is the Fantasy Football Blitz.
Do you know who I am?
Powered by whotostart.com.
Who the hell are you?
whotostart.com.
Hello.
The Fantasy Football Blitz.
Who the business?
This is the Fantasy Football Blitz, powered by whotostart.com on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 104.5ESPN.com.
All right, Darren, welcome aboard. I'm happy now that I've done one segment with you. I've got this under my belt, so it's going to be much better this time around.
Sounds good.
You excited about that?
I am excited.
I know you are. It sounds like you're excited. I'm gonna, the first question we get, we said load it up, right? And the first question we get, my man Dwayne says, who to play, Brady or Rodgers? How did he get those two on the same team?
Yeah, at some point you got to make a trade there. It might be too late, but you got to play Aaron Rodgers. That game against Philly should be a shootout. I mean, in New England and Indianapolis should be a shootout as well, but we like Rodgers just a little bit better than Brady this week.
All right, let us know your questions in the huddle right now, driven by the Sterling Automotive Group. Darren Chance wants to know, should he sit Alshon Jeffrey or Sammy Watkins?
Yeah, you played Watkins tonight. He played in over 90% of the snaps last week, and so we know that the hammy is not an issue. Chicago's kind of a mess right now. Miami's got a good defense for tonight, but we still definitely like Sammy Watkins if you're looking at those pair.
Your thoughts on the two LSU rookie receivers, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr.?
Man, they're looking great. Landry's going to be a nice possession receiver for the Dolphins. Pretty much rendered Brian Hartline useless there for the Dolphins, but Beckham Jr. looks like a star in the making there for the Giants. Both of them good plays this week too.
All right, Mike wants to know if there are any sleeper running backs out there this week.
Yeah, if you're looking for a real deep sleeper, this Damian Williams kid from Miami is named to watch. Maybe not for this week. Might be too late to go get him and plug him in. But if he has a good week here against the Bills, Moshawn Moreno's out for the season. Lamar Miller's a little dinged up. Daniel Thomas has fumbling issues and just isn't that good. Damian Williams, the name to watch. All
right, Steven wants to know, should he play LaShawn McCoy, Shady McCoy, or Trey Mason?
I think you got to go with McCoy. If it weren't for that little touchdown he got last week, he wouldn't have had a great game at all, but has pretty good history against the Packers. There should be plenty of points scored in that game, so I think you got to go McCoy there.
Well, man, M. Redmond has got to start one of these three guys. A.J. Green, Larry Fitzgerald, or Odell Beckham Jr.?
I think you got to go with Green there. The Bengals had a horrible week last week on that Thursday night football game, but they should rebound. Playing against a high-powered offense means Andy Dalton's going to have to throw the ball. A.J. Green is obviously his best option. I think you got to go Green there.
Speaking of the Bengals, Jeremy Hill, should he start this week in front of San Diego's Ryan Matthews? Gio Bernard did not practice yesterday for the Bengals, probably unlikely for the weekend.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Gio's going to give it a go. Hill, like the rest of the Bengals, just didn't look great last week, but should get things kicking into higher gear this week. I would sit Matthews until we're 100% sure that he's back and looking good for the Chargers. So I think you got to play Hill there.
All right, Chase wants to know, should he start Russell Wilson or Jay Cutler?
We have Cutler in our top 12 this week, just barely. I think Minnesota's got a pretty tough pass defense, but much worse on the road. So this is kind of a bounce back weekend here for us with Cutler. So I think you play Cutler this week.
All right, let's go to Ryan, who wants to know Brandon Cooks from the New Orleans Saints or Roddy White.
Yeah, Roddy White's looking really good this so far this year, kind of in a bounce-back season after a pretty disappointing year last year. But we absolutely love Cooks, one of our top plays this week. So if you have a way to get both of those guys in there, you do it. But if it's between those two, you got to play Cooks. He's our number 4 wide receiver.
Yeah, I just got a kick out of this, and I mean the huddle's going wide. Brandon writes in, "How the hell do these people have these players on the same team?" I mean, geez, some of these questions. Sproles or Freddie Jackson?
It looks very doubtful for Fred Jackson tonight, so you got to play Sproles.
All right. Jennings or Harris? That's an inside joke. It's an LSU question. Somebody put that in there. Ben Tate or Bryce Brown?
Bryce Brown, kind of tailing on the Fred Jackson news, looks like a decent play, especially in PPR formats here tonight against the Dolphins. So I think you play Brown.
All right, and this is more realistic to somebody I think most of us would have on our team. Brian wants to know, he needs 2 or 3 here. Sankey, McKinnon, C.J. Anderson. Pick 2.
Oh, Sankey, McKinnon. I think you bench McKinnon, but just barely. I think there's just going to be a lot of passing in that Minnesota-Chicago game. McKinnon only gets you probably 10 or 11 carries and gets you 40 or 50 yards. I think the upside's just better with the other 2.
All right, Darren, Keeper League, one of these dynasty leagues. What do you think about the future of the Met show, Zach Mettenberger? He a lot of comparisons to kind of a developing Joe Flacco. Big guy, big tall guy, big hands, big arm for getting the ball down the field. He's got some decent receivers there for the Titans: Justin Hunter, Kendall Wright, a good pass catching back out of the backfield in Bishop Sankey. So, definitely a guy you want to hold on to, see how he does in the next couple of years. Definitely a guy that I would look at in dynasty leagues for sure. All right, Jonathan Stewart or Trey Mason?
I like Jay Stute this week. Going up against a really bad Falcon rush D. So D'Angelo Williams just doesn't do anything to separate himself. If Jay Stute's healthy, he looks like the better running back, and he is healthy. So I would play Stewart.
Got a question here. I've got Cam Newton in a dynasty league. I'm scared. Do I keep him?
Well, it depends on what you'd get in a trade. If somebody's offering you a lot of value coming back your way, maybe you consider it. But the guy's a freak of nature. They're going to get the things together there. He's obviously a threat to run and score on the ground, which is always a bonus. So I think you got to stick with him unless somebody offers you, the kitchen sink.
All right, Big Ben or Brady at quarterback?
This week we're liking Brady. Ben kind of came back to reality last week with a more pedestrian effort, and Brady definitely has a nice matchup there against his buddy Andrew Luck. So got to go with Brady.
All right, Reeves wants to know, there was a trade in his league. In your opinion, who won the trade? Gordon, McCoy, and Benjamin. So Gordon, McCoy, and Benjamin for Graham, Cooks, and Bradshaw.
Boy, I think you always got to look at who got the best overall player in a deal, just because they've obviously upgraded the most at one position. The other guys could kind of just fall in line and have equal value. But in this deal, Graham obviously is the best player, at least in my opinion. So that Cooks-Graham side sounds like a pretty good one, especially with the Saints having to fight for that division. They're going to be throwing a ton of balls.
All right, trade proposal. One of our listeners has on the table, Darren. Tom Brady and Bobby Rainey for Jay Cutler and Rashad Jennings. Should I accept? So he's got Brady and Bobby Rainey. And Cutler, they want to trade him Cutler and Rashad Jennings.
I think it depends on your running back situation. If you're really, really struggling at running back and you think you're going to be okay at quarterback there after the trade, then you make that trade. But if you don't really need a running back upgrade, I think you stick with what you have because Brady is probably the better long-term quarterback for the rest of the season.
Sleeper quarterback off the board. My guy's inactive this week. Who's the guy?
Well, there's a couple guys you can probably look at. Josh McCown bounced back got back to the Bucks last week. Has a decent matchup here against the Redskins. Derek Carr is always a guy we look at just because Oakland is just so bad and they're going to be throwing in every game. So one of those two names, McCown or Carr, is probably going to get you this week.
All right, we got 2 more questions here for you, Darren. Half PPR, Malcolm Floyd or Brandon Cooks from Dominic?
Oh, yeah, you got to go Cooks. We like him a little bit better in the full PPR, but he's going to get enough action and potential for score, so definitely like Cooks this week.
All right, pick one, C.J. Anderson, McKinnon, or Monte Ball.
Until Ball's proven that he's back in that offense, and he wasn't even looking all that great when he was healthy. But looks like C.J. Anderson's probably going to get the bulk of the carries for the Denver Broncos, and they should be running a lot against the Rams as they're probably going to be up early. So plug Anderson in, hope he gets you 100 combined yards and maybe a touchdown.
Fantastic. Darren, give us the information. How can they follow you? Obviously, whotostart.com.
Yeah, we're on Twitter at Who to Start, and then we're also at whotostart.com. That's the number 2. And we still have our mid-season special up there. It's $14.99 for the rest of the season.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll talk to you next week. Matt will talk to you next week. And
look forward